This is 2025, and it grabbed me by my head, lifted me up, and just straight in the stomach. 2025 has been a horrible year for me. No, I'm joking. There were some really low points in 2025, but some really high points in 2025 as well. I'm Hoyt. I'm the host of the No Truths Barred podcast, the best up-and-coming podcast on the internet. And if you've wondered, in my mind, I'm going to tell myself that you were wondering where I've been. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you didn't care. Maybe you've seen some of my content and scrolled on past. Or if you do follow my page, you might have wondered, I don't see any long form content from him. I'm not hearing him pontificate on politics, relationships, history, philosophy. Where has he been? Maybe in your mind, there's been a void because you haven't heard from me. You haven't seen my ideas floating around on Twitter, floating around on TikTok, floating around on YouTube. But rest assured, I am back. Maybe I am. But nonetheless, I want to take this particular, I don't want to call it an episode, but kind of a confessional-esque sort of thing, if you will. And I want to talk about the different highlights of my year, my current thoughts on certain social issues, and the trajectory of the No Truths Barred podcast. If you have not done so already, make sure you're following the channel. Make sure you're following the TikTok. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow the TikTok. Make sure you follow me on Twitter as well. So of all intents and purposes, I am ready to talk, and let's get into it. So let's see, where do I want to start? Do I want to talk about Donald Trump? Do I want to talk about the Medu Neter and ancient Egyptians? Do I want to talk about the Aztec Empire? Do I want to talk about General Smedley Butler and war being profitable? I don't know. I don't want to talk about any of that stuff. But what I do want to address, I want to talk about my absence and why you haven't seen me post that much on YouTube, but especially Instagram, and more specifically, why I haven't done any long-form content. I read a book several years ago by an author named Steven Pressfield, and this book, it's a book dedicated to the creative. It's a book dedicated to the innovator, the entrepreneur, the artist. Because what happens as an artist, as a creative, I would love to perceive myself as a creative. I would love to perceive myself as an artist, and hopefully you kind of view me the same way. But this book, the whole argument is that it's called The War of Art, not the art of war, the war of art. And what Pressfield highlights is something that plagues many of us, and it's a quagmire that I kind of frequently fall into. And he talks about the concept of resistance. Now, how Pressfield categorizes resistance, is that when you're trying to create, when you're in the ebb and flow of whatever it is, if you're an artist and you're trying to think of a new concept to paint, to illustrate, to put out there into the world for mass consumption, if you're a musician, if you're a rapper, if you're a stand-up comedian, whatever your specific lane or genre or niche is, we all face resistance. And resistance are those periods where the inspiration is gone. It's those periods where you don't feel inspired to create. It's those periods where real life is pulling at you, family, other personal issues. And in your mind, I'm not in a space to create. I am not in a mood to create. I just don't have it in me. So many things are pulling me away. What Pressfield talks about is how to mitigate that sort of terrain. And I read this book many years ago, and it's funny because I often would talk about this work. I would quote from it, and I would kind of use it to talk to other people that were in droughts of inspiration. What I realized is that the saying, the aphorism, that a dream without a plan is just nothing more than a delusion. A goal without action is just pain that you're putting on yourself. And I call myself, or I like to kind of say that I am a content creator. But you have to have the rigor and the work in that to say, regardless, I am always going to create. So one of the things that happened to me over the course of the year is that the inspiration started to plummet because of work and things that I was dealing with my job, because of family issues. So one of the most traumatic things to ever happen to me in my entire life happened to me this year. This year I lost my grandmother, and it was one of the most traumatic experiences. She was blessed to live to be 102. And people always make the argument, oh, your grandmother lived a long life, so you shouldn't be that upset. I think sometimes it hurts worse when someone does live a long time with you, because the hurt and the void is even stronger. And when that happened earlier this year, my grandmother passed on March 10th, and I just had to learn how to navigate life without her. I still believe that she's here in the spiritual form, but my grandmother was always someone I could go to bounce ideas off of. My grandmother was someone that I could always go to, and she would give me some sort of positive reinforcement. My grandmother was the person that I could go to when the world is kicking my ass, when I feel like shit and I don't believe in myself. I could go to her and get that. And now I'm in a space, and I've been in a space, where there's a preponderance of negativity. There's a preponderance of saying you can't, you're not good enough. The shit you're talking about, nobody gives a fuck about, and they don't really want to hear it. That is a preponderance around me right now. And that source of positivity that I normally had in my life to go to is no longer there. That was a big catalyst, and the reason why, for periods, and even if you follow me on TikTok, there's periods where I'm just not creating nothing. There's periods where I'm just apathetic. I don't care about what's going on in the Black community. I don't care about what's going on politically. I don't care about what's going on out in the world, because my world feels like it's falling apart. And that was a huge reason to why I definitely fell back from creating content. In addition to losing my grandmother, the other reason why I started to not really post, especially on Instagram and YouTube, is that what I started to find out is something that was rather unsettling, is that you kind of have to shake away the shackles of familiarity in order to really make it. And this is what I mean by that. When we look at places like Facebook and Instagram, this is an amalgamation of different people that you've collected throughout your lifetime. It could be through high school, it could be through work, it could be through college, it could be through other extracurricular activities that you're involved in. And what I've started to notice is that platforms like Instagram, platforms like Facebook, it's an amalgamation of a few different sentiments. One, you're going to have people that are just straight up indifferent. They don't care. They have things going on in their own lives, and so they just really don't care to interact with you. Another thing you're going to find out, and what I've seen personally, is that it's not necessarily the message, but it's the messenger. So what I find in my experience is that I may deliver a message, but it may not be palatable or acceptable coming from me. So people that may know me will accept said message from a different messenger, but coming from me, it sounds as arrogance, it sounds as like it's hubris, it sounds like I'm trying to talk down to you or be condescending, or maybe you kind of look at me like a know-it-all, and maybe you just want me to shut the F up, to be frank. But that was the other thing I noticed. I think the most sinister thing that I started to notice with some of these platforms is that people would not like you, but follow your pages and follow your content. And I think that is more so in the minority. And the way I look at my art, I consider podcasting my art. Just when I was a musician, when I was a rapper, I consider that my art. And the way I look at my art is that I look at it like a baby. And I look at it like when I put my art in front of you, it's like I'm giving you my child. I'm giving you something that came from me that's now out in the world. And when I'm handing you my child, I don't want to hand my child to someone that has ill intent. I don't want to hand my child to someone that is malicious and does not want to see me progress. So that was a real turnoff. And then I just think the algorithm on Instagram and Facebook is just really messed up. And I decided, I said, okay, this is a space where things I want to do, things I really want to create, I cannot put this over here. Some people make the argument that Instagram has monitoring spirits. I didn't really know what that term meant until I looked it up, and people started kind of actually, elucidate on what that particular term is. But it basically means you have people that would monitor you, your moves, your photos, your content, what you're doing, etc., but never engage. And it's almost done from a perspective of keeping tabs on you and not really being truly enthralled and engaging with what you're doing and putting out there into the world. And this was what I encountered 97% of my time when I would provide a post on Instagram. And so that kind of made me fall back more. And I said, okay, well, this is not a space for me. And I was able to find other platforms that were a lot more viable, that I met a lot of other great content creators from other states, other countries that I plan on, working with going into the upcoming year. And I just found out I cannot go in a place, IG, where I'm not wanted. I want to avoid making all of the factors as to why I stopped doing content. I don't want to make everything extrinsic. I also want to tell you some intrinsic reasons as well. But I've been disappointed with Black content creators in general, because a lot of the conversations are becoming extremely trite. A lot of the conversations just revolve around the most toxic and counterproductive topics. And I said, I don't want to be a part of that. So this is what I'm seeing. Either you're going to get the relationship podcast, and within relationships, it's either this emphasis on just vilifying Black men, or it's either this emphasis on just vilifying Black women, or you're talking about these weird aspects like, aborting, male babies, or you're saying that, Black women are just kind of masculine and they won't get married and they're going to be alone. And you're seeing this sort of content, or you're getting the content where it's all about money, it's 50-50, etc. Or you're getting the race content. Now, I'm a person, I've studied African American history, African history, history of West Africa, history of Western Europe. I received my bachelor's of history from Virginia Commonwealth University. I received the W.E.B. Du Bois Black Excellence in History Award. So I'm a huge history buff. But nonetheless, what I see is a lot of misinformation. What I see is that there's really no emphasis on research. And the other thing is kind of, you don't have to actually tell the truth. You have to just say something that's going to be compelling. And just because something's compelling in nature, it doesn't mean that it's actually true in nature. And what I started to see is that people begin to use the study of history, philosophy, political science as a means to make themselves feel that other people are subjacent to them from an intellectual standpoint. And so I started to kind of like not really enjoy the fact that what I thought was kind of a benevolent thing was being used to put down other Black folks. So a lot of times what people will do is they'll gain some information. So it could be maybe something about an indigenous African spiritual system. It could be something about ancient Nile Valley culture. It could be something about Poverty Point in Louisiana. It could be something about Cahokia. It could be whatever it is. It could be, maybe you just read Ivan Van Sertima, which is a book I read when I was 16. Whatever you want to do, people are starting to take this information and they're using it to embolden themselves and to build some sort of weird hierarchy. And that was a turnoff. I never wanted to use my platform to make others feel bad or like they are some sort of some sort of imbecile or what have you, because maybe they didn't come in contact with information like I have. And it kind of made me scared to talk about Black issues and Black history, because I'm starting to see a momentum now of, I love the fact that more people are sharing it, but I also am seeing that it's not about waking people up. There's just a monetary incentive and a fame incentive. And I have my trepidations now, because do I really want to have that sort of content? Because now it's going to look like maybe I'm just trying to make money off of people, and I'm trying to, perceive myself as being better than people. And I'm trying to figure out how to navigate those waters. So that was another thing that made me fall back, because I started to look at my content as in I'm falling into the fray with everyone else, and I love standing out. I don't want to follow people. I want to create. I want to innovate. I want to lead. I don't want to follow what this person is doing or that person is doing, or talk about this subject because it's a hot thing. I always want to be the wave. I want to be the next step. I want to be the catalyst for the turn. So because of that, and because of my lack of inspiration, I said, well, let me fall back. But with that being said, I really hope to, with future episodes, disseminate facts in a way that you haven't seen before, and to bring a new narrative to our story and our situation and our history as a people. Now, I want to get into the lessons that I've learned this year. The biggest lesson of 3 that I've learned this year is that you have to be your own cheerleader. Life can hit you where it hurts. People will disappoint you. Situations will disappoint you. Many times you are going to find out that you are fighting your battles alone. And if you cannot handle that, if you cannot stomach that particular fact, you will crumble, you will go under, and this world will chew you up and spit you out. There are times, and this is going to sound so bizarre, but there's going to be times where a degree of narcissism is needed. You're going to sometimes have to be a little arrogant, have to be a little narcissistic to willpower yourself through certain situations. You're going to have a deep belief, a belief in yourself, not to be sacrilegious, but a belief in yourself to almost be like believing in yourself is its own religion. And you're going to have that sort of belief, being your own cheerleader, to get yourself through day-to-day life sometimes, to pursue goals that you want to go after sometimes, and to achieve things that you want to achieve. Because best believe, and I'm just going to keep it real with you, most people you meet do not care if you are successful. Most people you meet do not care about your happiness. Most people you meet, honestly, probably don't want you to be successful. Most people you meet are going to look at what you're trying to do, your objectives, your dreams, and say that it's stupid. They're going to tell you you're not good enough, you can't do it, you need to just stop and sit down. This is what you're going to get. Plus, now couple that with the fact that life is going to life. And if you don't have an insane belief in yourself, if you're not able to be your own cheerleader, you are going to go under and you may not make it back up. The second thing I realized is that I am not always the good guy. I'm not always the hero in every single story, and that is okay. It's okay to be flawed. It's okay to not be perfect. I'm not always going to do or say the right things. And I've had experiences this year where just that, I had to have a realistic look at myself to realize that I'm not always going to treat people properly. I'm not always going to say the correct things and have the right words or have the right temperament. Sometimes I can be an asshole. Sometimes I may not be patient. And I've had this kind of delusion about myself my whole life, is that I'm the good guy. But all of us can be good. All of us can be bad. But I think most of us are gray area, and we got to embrace the gray. But and I got gray in the beard, but we have to embrace the gray, because many times life is more complicated than, oh, either you're a good person or either you're a bad person. Sometimes in a moment I'm doing something that I'm perceiving as good, but maybe it's not the best for those around me, or vice versa. And I think this year more so than any other year in my life, I had to really develop and look at myself from a realistic standpoint. It's not comfortable. Like when you look back over your life and you see things that have gone wrong, it feels so good when you can blame other people. It feels so good when I can say, oh, that person at that job was just an ass. It feels so good when I can say, oh, well, this person wasn't right and that person wasn't right and this situation didn't happen because of this and this and that. It feels good. But it sucks when you have to look in that mirror and say, it was me in some of these situations. It was my fault in some of these situations. I wasn't a good guy. I was a fucked up asshole in some of these situations. And when I'm saying this, it's not that all of this happened this year. I'm reflecting over the past 15 years of my life, and I had to chip away and break at that delusion of myself that I am flawed. And as human beings, we are flawed. And nobody is just this perfect representation of morale all of the time, 24/7, Monday through Sunday. We're gonna mess up. We're going to treat people wrong. Sometimes we're not going to handle people the right way. And I think a part of becoming an elder, and I think a part of maturing, you don't have to get into some sort of esoteric knowledge to not be an asshole. It's just saying, hey, I'm going to wear my accountability. I'm going to see where I've done wrong, where I've messed up, where I didn't say the right things, and how can I atone for that going forward. And so my second biggest lesson is just learning that I am not always the good guy. Everything comes full circle. And the reason for my third lesson as to you shouldn't lose yourself is because you have to be grounded in a sense of who you are. You have to know, this is who I am. This is what I represent. These are my passions. This is what I want to contribute to the world. And I think what started to happen to me, really, I'm going to say over the past 3 or 4 years, is that I begin to lose touch of who Hoyt is. I begin to lose touch of what drives me, what motivates me, who I am. This is going full circle, and it kind of, I'm going back into the podcast. And when I think about No Truths Barred and the reason why I started it, it came from who I am. So for people that don't know me, which is most of y'all, before content creation, before doing anything related to podcasting and YouTube, I was a scholar of sorts. Like I told you, I've read books on African American. Here's some of my books here. So just to kind of show you what I mean, these are some of my books. The Slave Trade by Hugh Thomas, Guns, Germ, and Steel by Jared Diamond, Civilization of Barbarism by Shakanta Jacques. I'm reading this now, White Poverty, and this is by Reverend William Barber. Great book so far. Anyway, I read a lot. So the reason is, like I said, I read a lot, and I love having discourse about different things, whether it's, world history, politics, whether it's African American history, West African history, science, etc. And I just always have been an inquisitive person. And that was my drive, because I didn't really see anybody talking about things the way that I wanted to talk about it. And outside of that, sometimes working jobs, you can kind of forget who you are as well, because you're in these spaces, and I'm thankful to have what I have, but you're in these spaces where you kind of muffle out your authentic self for 8 hours a day. And sometimes you're in spaces where you can't be your authentic self. And what begins to happen is you kind of gradually lose contact with who you are. And that's one thing that began to happen to me. people that met me back in VCU, people that met me before VCU, we talking like from the years of 2004 maybe through like 2014. You know, I've had people tell me I should write books. I've had people invite me on radio shows, like way before podcasting. The first time I ever did something with radio was in 2008. And, you know, I had people tell me that I should have I should go for my doctorate. I should write books, like I said. And that was a big part of me. Hip hop is a big part of me. And that thing that made me happy, that thing that was a part of me, it gradually started to drift away to the point where I felt like little spiritually ambiguous, if you will. That's the best way I can kind of phrase it. And this year has been a year of reconnecting. I think with the passing of my grandmother, it made me lament on different epochs in my life. It made me think back to different parts of my life and how I've developed. And this year has also been a year of reconnecting with who I am. And I couldn't really give you guys content if I'm struggling from a spiritual standpoint on my end. And I think I needed this time away. I've been able to kind of observe how things are going. And now I'm connected. You know, if you go to any business, any corporation, you go to any nonprofit, if you go into the office of leadership there, you're going to see a mission statement. And I always used to wonder, why do people have mission statements? Like, why the hell of the CEO or the president, why they have to have a mission statement up? And now I get it. I understand why you need a mission statement. And the mission statement, it serves a purpose. It is the anchor for the company when you start to feel like you're deviating. And your life should have a mission statement. Your spiritual journey should have a mission statement. And your creative endeavors should have a mission statement. And I think 2025 has been a year of me revamping, going back to, and assessing the mission statement for not only the No Truths Barred podcast, but for your favorite podcaster, Hoyt, as well. Now, I want to end this video to speak about the future of the No Truths Barred platform. I will not lie. I don't want to fabricate. I felt like quitting many, many, many times. There are parts of me right now that feels like quitting. I feel like maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I'm dumb for continuing this. And I just feel like I'm in it alone. But I am going to do more content. I've set myself for a January date to do an official episode. I will be active, not on Instagram because that's a piece of shit platform, but on other platforms as well. So if you follow me, I will be active there. But definitely more episodes are on the way. I'm reconnected. And also I'm looking to collaborate with people. Like, I'm looking to work with other content creators. I'm looking for different, spaces in the area. So I'm feeling like I have my mojo back, if you will. But anyway, thank you so much for the support. Anybody that's followed and subscribed to the page recently, deep thanks. Anybody that follows me on TikTok, deep thanks. Anybody that follows me on Twitter, deep thanks. Much love, and I look forward to seeing you guys in 2026.